one reluctant rector, and one pessimistic parishioner, with a podcast that has them prodding, poking, and lovingly laughing at their faith. This is Revved Up.
Yeah, this is Revved Up. My name is Michael Botto, and this is the Reverend Lewis Pearson.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. This is fun.
Well, let's hope so. We should maybe start with unraveling the jingle we had kindly made for us.
Yeah.
One reluctant rector, one pessimistic parishioner, friends of many years. Do you want to unpack that was kind of your tagline that you came up with at some stage or another.
Yeah, I think we were joking about, and I came up with this without ever thinking it might actually become a real thing. So reluctant rector, why? I guess we were throwing around a conversation around this, and I guess, why am I reluctant? Sometimes I feel reluctant as a rector because it feels like one of the weirdest jobs or callings, or however you might want to describe it. Sometimes I feel a bit reluctant because I don't feel able to do the job. Sometimes I feel reluctant because sometimes people have certain ideas or misconceptions about members of clergy, so it makes me feel slightly reluctant. That's probably enough from me. Why are you pessimistic, Mike?
Oh, I think as a pessimistic parishioner, I think I'm one of those people that's quite down on what the church is doing and the way it's doing it a lot of the time. I'll tell you what it's like. It's a bit like my little sister. She was the most annoying little sister as we were growing up. But if I ever heard anybody say anything nasty about her or towards her, I'd be the first to sort of jump into her defence. Yeah, so sure. I think I'm a bit like that, really. I'm very self-critical of what we do as a church, but equally, it's very precious to me, and I'm the first to kind of jump in and defend it. So, I think that's fair. Look, before we get started, I think this is it's a podcast that I think should be listenable just about to all, and should have something for everybody. But in the same sense, if you've got something that is appealing to everybody, you're probably going to have something that's going to offend everybody as well along the way. So look, tune in, have a listen, see what you think. But know that we say the vast majority of what we say respectfully. But we should probably have a safe word, because were this to get out and into the hands of the wrong people.
Yeah.
So if you've got a safe word, if it's all getting a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, so I was trying to think who are the wrong people whose hands this might get into.
Yeah.
It depends where we go, but perhaps from my perspective and the really worked out career plan I have, maybe the bishops would be the people I wouldn't want this to get into the hands of. So maybe mitre could be the safe word.
Mitre being the football that they play with, of course.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, mitre is the safe word. So look, I thought we'd spend a little bit of the first pod kind of getting to, we know one another, but for listeners to kind of get to know us a little bit better. And I thought we'd play a little game just to kick things off, to get a feel for who you are and your makeup. And we'd play a little bit of 10 words, it's called. It's nice and simple. I'm going to give you 10 words, and all I want you to do is tell me a word that automatically springs to mind when I say it. Is that okay?
Okay, I've got a list as well. So should we do this one at a time, or should we go through the full list? How should we do this?
Well, yeah, I think going full list is probably more sensible, because I think you have too much time to think about it potentially.
Oh, okay.
And I want it to be instinctive.
Okay.
So shall I do you first? You happy with that?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, here we go then. So football.
Tottenham.
Dessert.
Tiramisu.
Oh. Vegetable.
Potato.
Boris. That'll do. Britain.
Great.
Virtual.
Insanity.
Oh, nice. God.
Spirit.
Okay. Supermarket.
Sweet.
Shine, Jesus, shine. Oh, it's that noise again. Okay, so strictly speaking, we shouldn't allow you to repeat them, but you're very much putting Shine, Jesus, shine in the category of Boris there.
Yeah.
In terms of your response.
Absolutely.
I mean, you grew up at a time as I did where if you were in a service and it didn't have Shine Jesus Shine in it, there were big questions being asked. Why?
I mean, the late 80s. What a time in church that was. The arguments over where the clap go in that song still resound loud and proud even today.
I'll tell you where they go. They disappear altogether.
Absolutely.
But there we go. All right, cool. I'm ready when you are then.
All right, brilliant. Okay, I'm excited for this. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Dog.
Hair.
Church.
Family.
S Club.
7.
Hut.
Pizza.
Camping.
Cold.
Happiness.
Pizza Man.
Football.
Bournemouth.
Fate.
Skittles.
Soul.
James Brown.
Vicar.
Lewis.
There you go.
All right, cool.
Ben.
Well, any of those you want to unpack? I mean, where do we start? I liked. Let's go to yours first of all. So we've gathered Shine Jesus Shine was a bit of a thing there. Supermarket. You said sweep.
Oh yeah.
I was wondering just how much you've changed as a vicar because I was hoping you might pull a Waitrose out of the bag there, but it didn't. It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
No.
So that's good. Anything else that I noticed there? Virtual insanity. That was nice. That aged you slightly. That was nice.
Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah, and of course, being a vicar a vicar who can remember Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai, and it being in their formative years. Yeah. That's probably quite rare. I can't imagine there are that many vicars out there that are Jamiroquai fans.
Oh, I don't know. There'll be a few. Probably not loads, but there will be some.
I'm doing exactly what you said at the start in terms of people's perceptions of a vicar.
Absolutely.
Anything you'd like to unpack with me there?
Yeah, let's go. Oh, fate.
Yeah.
You said Skittles.
Yes, I did.
Now, this says something about our friendship, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Lewis was a youth and community worker. Something like that. He wasn't a youth and community worker. He was a community worker.
Yeah.
He was a kind of all hands on deck kind of a guy. And he was employed by the church where I attend. And we had a church fete every summer. And Skittles, until that time, actually, Skittles hasn't really been on my radar. I was more about the hooker duck or trying to work out if the egg, when you turn it over, is a whole egg or actually just the shell of an egg. And you win a Haribo egg for winning. I mean, we can reflect on that for some time, really, the amount of money I wasted on that stall. But Skittles, we are the joint record holders at the Skittles.
I think we are. And we used to compete over winning a ham every summer. What days they were.
Can you remember the score that we got off
I cannot remember the score.
I think it was 13 off 3 balls, which
it was pretty impressive. I think we had to reset them.
Yeah. Oh, we did. Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah. So there we go. All right. Well, look. So if you didn't know us before, maybe you know us just a tad better now. When I said that we were going to do this podcast, I put something up on my Facebook and kind of figured we'd do a bit of a virtual biscuit tin, really, where people can post questions to you, not necessarily in the respect that you're the expert, but it'd be interesting to have your views, and I can chuck in with one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of want it not to feel like it's about me. I want to throw it back to you as well.
I'm very, very spiritual. Okay, so where do we start? Let's have a quick look through a few of the questions that came my way. Anything that you find a bit boring to talk about?
Anything that I find boring to talk about?
Yeah, anything that you'd really rather not talk about?
I don't know. Go with what you want. I'll tell you if I find it a boring question, and then we'll offend whoever.
Yeah. Well, let's dip into the virtual biscuit tin and pull out a question. Rob McKinney says, "Did Humpty Dumpty fall or was he pushed?" And there has been a follow-up question from Emma asking, "Did he jump?" Your thoughts, please.
Well, we're going in with the big.
Well, yeah. Sorry to jump straight to that.
Yeah, it's kind of putting me on the spot and really throwing me. I mean, I find nursery rhymes quite dark at times. Some of them, sorry. So I imagine he was probably pushed.
Okay. Well, on that basis, I'm going to say that he jumped.
Okay.
Well, let's start at the start then. Did your vicar questions? Along your qualifications, how long have you been a vicar now? There's all sorts of terms, isn't there? Vicar, curate, canon, not canon.
Well, I was. Should we unpack that very quickly?
Okay.
I was ordained in 2017, at which point I was a curate for just over 3 years, and then I became the rector or the vicar of my own kind of area or parish since September, just gone.
All right, cool. So there's quite a few questions about kind of qualifying to be a vicar.
Okay.
So we could hit a few of those off tonight, couldn't we? So, is there something that you learnt during your vicar training that made you think, "Wow, amazing! I've never heard or thought of that before"?
I mean, definitely the right answer is yes. And no, I'm sure there are. It's it feels like a blur in the memory. Everything that was sort of going on at that point. I guess one of the things that kind of blew my was starting to understand that people looked at bits of the Bible or the church in really different ways to what I'd ever thought about them. So people were coming with feminist interpretations of the Bible, or people coming from different parts of the world, and the way that impacted the way they saw the church. And I guess we sort of know some of that, but we're kind of, for me, I was brought up in the area I brought up in. It kind of just expanded my mind a bit about that. So
yeah, okay. And Mary Love says, should a vicar have to have a degree, or does a vicar have to have a degree? And how does this affect recruitment? If so, what maybe gets lost, or is there something missing from the vocation, and what is gained?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a really good question. Well, first of all, I don't have a degree.
Okay.
I've managed to wander through. I've got a diploma. Hopefully that's okay. Don't tell anyone. I mean, in the church thing perspective, you have to have some kind of qualification. And I think there's a lot of merit in actually some academic study, because it does open your mind up to different thinkers and broadens your thoughts on different aspects. So I think in that way it's useful. I guess maybe behind the question is that perhaps behind the academia, that perhaps potentially you can lose the heart of what's going on, or the soul of, and does that affect recruitment, for want of a better word? There's a lot of conversation around this, actually, that does the way the Church of England thinks about selecting people, is that affected by people from perhaps places or experiences that don't lead them to have huge academic skills in perhaps the classic kind of way, but they obviously have amazing skills and abilities. And I think that's something the church needs to wrestle with more and more, because if you look at kind of vicar training and vicar school, it's very middle class. It's kind of full of there can be a blandness about it, that it misses out on some demographics. And I felt a little bit different from some of my cohort, coming from I wouldn't say I was from a working class background, but I was from a standard comprehensive school in North London. So I wasn't the same as everybody there.
No, and I wonder, you take the boy out of North London, but you can't take the North London out of the boy. I've had messages from you just this week where you've been making soup and pressing apples. So,
well, I mean, these were the things that any proud North Londoner did on a Saturday morning.
I love it. Soup, pressing apples, a walk in the fields. You're getting a dog. It's all, if you weren't middle class before, you might be soon. Let's hit another one. Let's ask, what did your vicar qualifications? There's been a couple on these, so it's quite topical, quite current. if you're just catching this in 3 years' time, my apologies. But what did your vicar qualifications teach you about handling the church and a worldwide pandemic? That sounds sarcastic, but it really isn't. They genuinely like to know.
Yeah. I don't know if the qualifications as such do that, but I think what we talk in when you're training, there's the academic kind of side of the essay writing, and then there's the what's often referred to as the formational side. We used to call it the vicar's F word. Formation is how it's sort of how you're being changed inside, and I guess the formative part of it was having routines or structures or a rhythm to life and prayer and looking after yourself. And I think that's something which has led me to be in quite a good place, perhaps personally. I guess there's a lot of reflection at the moment, how we care for ourselves. We talk about self-care, particularly in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. And I guess some of those rhythms and those structures that I've sort of have become ingrained in me have put me in a place, and perhaps, I mean, to say share those with other people feels like I'm the person with the answers, but I know for me they've been helpful, having those rhythms and those practices. So maybe that's somewhat of an answer to your question.
Okay. You mentioned there the F word.
Yeah.
I wonder, since you've become a vicar, are you swearing less or more?
I've never sworn, Mike. You know.
Oh, that's disappointing. I was going to ask you what your favourite swear word was.
Oh, I mean, this is brilliant. Mitre.
Are you allowed a favourite swear word anymore?
I'm sure we are.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not. I'm doing the lid on. I mean, some of my clergy colleagues, some of the best swearers I think I've ever met.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what is my favourite. What is my favourite swear word? I mean, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I will.
Oh, good. Excellent.
I was because it refers to the word that I may have used at the time. It refers to a pandemic as well, of vicaring in a pandemic world. I was recording a service just before Christmas, and I was on about the 6th take of this thing with the phone ringing and me ballsing it up at various stages. And I was just getting to the very end. I was knackered. It was just before Christmas. It was manic. And I was just about to say amen and hit the end of record. And somebody rang on the doorbell, and ruined the whole recording. At which point I went, oh shit, as loud as I could, and realised I wasn't quite sure of the soundproofing of my window with the person, with my parishioner at the door, who happened to be dropping off food for the food bank.
Oh no!
I mean, I felt awful.
So you should.
That's a very long-winded answer to your question.
But okay, but shit, it is. Where shall we go next? Mark Holmes says, why doesn't God, Lord of the Fish, why doesn't God just kill Satan?
Oh, that is a...
We got time?
have we got time? I guess... Yeah, okay, let's go there. Probably it depends when you think of the word of what we're talking about when we say Satan. For me, when I hear Satan, devil, evil, kind of Satan is a personification of something to help us to try and understand evil and all of these things that are outside of our understanding, to kind of create them into a figure, perhaps, is one way of understanding that. So the idea of sort of killing that thing doesn't really work for...
Yeah, so if you're talking about Satan, actually, if you're stripping back Satan and saying, actually, that's evil personified, and evil are things that we do wrong, then in a world of free will, God can't kill that. I think. Well, could, but doesn't.
Could. I think. To have you end up with sort of a robotic kind of world with, or a mechanistic world with a God who makes you do this or say this, and like you say, that it lacks any sense of free will.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll do a couple more. This is a cracker. Why does the vicar how does the vicar reconcile the existence of dinosaurs with his faith? Wowza, Johan.
Okay.
Give me that.
Brilliant. Well, do you want to have a go at that? Hey, mate, I feel like these questions aren't just
No. Well, I'll go.
I mean, as a pessimistic parishioner, you must have thought about such things of dinosaurs and faith.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
Where would you go?
Yeah, and it feels like quite a tired discussion point now. But go on, Johan. I'll give it 2 minutes tops. I would say that the Bible is made up of all sorts of things. So if we're talking about it conflicting with the story of creation, the Bible is made up of letters, of records and accounts of things that happened. It's made up of stories that are meant to be understood purely as stories. It's made up of stories that are meant to point to a certain kind of narrative, a wider narrative. And for me, the story of creation, the 7 days, all of that kind of jazz, for me, that's not to be taken literally. For me, that is a story that actually ties in, I think, incredibly well with the whole evolution thing. You know, you've got dark and night and day, and you've got land and sea, and you've got fish and birds, and you've got animals, and you've got man or woman. And there's no reason that dinosaurs can't fit in that little story there, if you extrapolate it and stretch it out across thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions. Take your pick. It doesn't really bother me. What that story is saying is God is the driving force behind all creation, amongst other things. So I think actually that story is a story that is thousands of years old. We know that. But even at that time, somehow they'd qualified the fact that they were pointing to, or they could easily have been pointing to, evolution, and that God was behind that. In a time where they didn't have carbon dating and they didn't have the incredible departments of science across the world that we have now. So it doesn't conflict with me at all. Actually, it just makes the story of the Bible all the more compelling for me. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great.
Good. That's my take. Get me a dog collar. Well, okay, on a similar line, some people think that the Bible is just a book of stories. What's the vicar's take on this? It's not just a book of stories, is it? In your opinion?
No, I think it's like, I think you've already gone there. Bible, related to word biblio or library. It's a whole mixture of different kinds of literature, whether it's letter or wisdom or poetry or narrative. It's a whole mixture of different things. Over a huge expanse of time that's been edited and formulated and put together at various stages.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody just the other night actually about contradictions within the Bible, and they were saying, well, that doesn't that kind of jar your faith? And actually, I think it strengthens the case for the Bible that there are contradictions. I think if it was a book that had been written to, and don't get me wrong, the way in which it's selected would have for sure have had an agenda behind it.
Absolutely.
But if it was a book written purely and made up purely to oppress people or steer them a certain way, then there wouldn't be contradictions. They wouldn't have that. It would be much slicker than that. And actually, the contradictions make it real, and for me, actually give it more integrity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know whether the question comes from here at all, but I know sort of various people talk about sort of the Bible as sort of some sort of like manual or and I just don't think it's as clear cut as that. I think it's lots of people wrestling with some of the biggest questions of life and faith and giving different perspectives and and disagreeing. I just think it's much more active. I think it's something which is 3D rather than this sort of 2D sort of one surface level thing that it can be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we kind of touched on it already. The pandemic. I'll give you a couple more, and then we'll call it a night for tonight. How would God explain or justify a pandemic?
I don't know if God would want to explain or to justify it. I think perhaps you've already touched upon it when you talked about free will, about some of the choices that we've made. I think that are coming out more and more in the way that we've treated the created world around us, which at times has led to all kinds of difficult things happening within the world. I think there's something about our world which is more wild and less safe than perhaps we often think, and we'd often want to make it. And God is at work within that, but is not controlling it in sort of some sort of micro management way. I just don't think that's the way God operates. And that makes God kind of feel like some sort of manager who oversees everything in a very mechanistic way. And I just that's not the way I see it at all.
No. All right, very good. Thank you. Let's go back to music. We had Trying to Shine. We dwelled on that earlier on. What is the worst Christmas carol? I mean, people are still, they've still got the Christmas lights on. We're in January. We're recording this on the 17th of January. But what is the worst Christmas carol, please? And he says, why is it Silent Night?
Well, yeah. So Silent Night. I guess people want to disagree with that one because I have childbirth, and from my memory of my children being born was not particularly silent or kind of. I mean, it was beautiful in one sense, but in many other.
Best thing about birth. I know what you're going to say. Best thing about the birth. Toast. Yeah.
Toast. I mean, toast in the hospital afterwards means the best toast.
Everyone tells me about that, but I was too full up from my Pizza Hut.
Yeah, I do. I remember you ordered a pizza to be delivered to the ward when your lovely wife was giving birth.
Yeah, well, yes, I did. I ordered several pizzas actually to the ward, so for all the nurses and me.
You'd be like a hero today if you did that. I mean, you would probably hero them, but can you imagine doing that now?
Yeah.
You peaked too early.
I think they call it virtue signalling, don't they? But yeah, I got my Cajun chicken sizzler without the Roquito peppers delivered in, and fantastic. That was by far and away beyond the awe and wonder of a new life. That was by far and away the most memorable kind of moment in the whole scenario.
And what was Claire's reaction to pizzas arriving? Just, I feel like our listeners might want to hear this.
Yeah, she was quite high on gas and air at the time.
Okay.
But I think they did have to call me back at one point because I had some Coke in the car, and I nipped to get it because, of course, I'd forgotten to order drinks. But I had a bottle in the back of my car.
I mean, again, for our listeners, your sort of magic car, which contains all kinds of disgusting things. Like a bottle of ketchup is always a mainstay of
100%. Because if you turn up at someone's house and they haven't got Heinz, I'm sorry to be that guy, but actually,
you always are that guy.
Actually, I'm not sorry to be that guy. It has to be Heinz, and so I've always got a bottle of ketchup in the car. I've always got an assortment of jumpers in case it's particularly cold.
I do remember once having you given me a lift, and you were off doing something, and I regretfully looked underneath your seat because I dropped something, and I found a fresh tub of soup. Well, I say fresh. I'm pretty sure it's a few months old and been living under your seat for some time.
I can only assume I got better. Soup for me, no offence, I know you make some these days, but soup for me is for the sick or the homeless. And I am. Well, I'm currently neither of those things. So I must have bought soup either because I or somebody I was fond of was sick,
And you dropped it, and you were just too weak to be able to pick it up.
That must be it. That must be it. Yeah. It's a little.
Anyway, were we talking about Christmas carols?
Oh yeah, I don't know how. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Silent Night. Yeah. So is that your favourite? No. Which is your favourite?
Was it favourite?
Oh no, worst. We're hating on the carols. We're hating on them.
I don't like Christmas carols. I've got to say, I'm not a big fan.
Watch out.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. There's a few I can sort of tolerate. They're very, very long. A lot of them have many, many verses.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's one benefit these days of the slideshow of a song, because I think I find myself entering into it more than when I used to as a kid. We used to have carols or hymns. I would just be striking off the verses.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, 5 down, 5 to go, or whatever it might have been. Whereas with the slideshow, you've got no idea of what's coming.
Yeah. Oh, I used to get the vicar who say, "We're going to sing verses number 1,
oh
3,
yes,
7 and 8," and by the time you get there, you've got a clue which ones you're singing.
No, but you are that did always fill me with a little bit of glee when they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna omit verses 5 and 6 or whatever." I was like, "Oh yeah, come on."
I mean, knowing you a bit as a pessimistic parishioner,
yeah.
I mean, this may be too fine pointed, but during the whole kind of online church, Zoom church lockdown pandemic experience,
yeah,
I mean, the fact that we've not been able to sing in person, I have a sense has filled you with the most delight.
Yeah, so there are two things that I've really loved about, well, there are lots of things I've loved about lockdown in all honesty, but from a church perspective, the two high points would definitely be not having to sing. And I can just sit there and sort of go, nah, if I really want to. Like I can mime it if I have to, if I feel that's appropriate. I can do the sort of sitting and like looking down, and I can be on my phone, but it can look like I'm kind of reflecting upon the words that are being sung. So that's quite handy. And the other one is that we don't do the piece.
Oh, yeah.
And I am not a fan of the piece. So for the listeners who don't know what the piece is, the piece is a moment in the service where, well, go on, you explain it. What is the piece?
The piece is the point where we greet each other sort of about halfway through the service, and the vicar or somebody usually, "The peace of the Lord be always with you," and you would say,
"And also with you." And then
we would
run for cover.
You run for cover because then we say, let's greet each other. At which point you've got your huggers, your kissers, your handshakers, your wavers, and you have to make a snap judgment upon who is coming towards you of what's happening. And obviously we can't do pretty much all of that at the moment, which I know brings a real delight to your life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a married man, and take this whatever way you want to, but I have more intimacy during the piece than I do most weeks. It's all very uncomfortable. Not a fan. Well, we've got a cracker to finish with, and I'm wondering, it's a biggie. Okay. But hey, let's do it. How can you justify unequivocal belief in something that has not one iota of evidence? That's from Mickey.
Oh, thanks, Mickey. It's a lovely question. Let's see where we go.
Can I ask you, do you have an unequivocal belief? I mean, that's probably the best place to start, because I don't know that I have an unequivocal belief.
Oh, I am absolutely filled with doubts and wrestling, and I wouldn't say I'm a person of sort of a blind faith who at all points feels full of faith. I struggle with questions and thoughts, and I guess I disagree with Mickey in some ways, but I get the idea of a question of perhaps somebody seeing someone that's kind of not having wrestled with some of these questions or having to continue to wrestle with them. So was it? There was a lovely phrasing in that question. Was it not one
iota of evidence?
Oh, okay.
I think was the phrase. Yeah, one iota of evidence.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would point to various things as evidence. Makes it feel like we're sort of having some sort of dispute or debate, and that we're going to present evidence from one side and evidence from another, and I find that quite a boring conversation.
Yeah,
I'm going to say. So I don't want to dwell on that too long. I guess I would go down a few lines. One, I think there's plenty of historical evidence for the existence of Jesus. I mean, we can wrestle a bit around different elements of that, but I think most people would agree that there's plenty of evidence for the person of Jesus. And I think faith for me opens me up to all the things in the world that are mysterious and unusual and perhaps aren't able to be answered with easy formulas or equations. For instance, I mean, I don't know, this might not be Mickey's intention to the question at all. So maybe I'm putting words in his mouth, but I've heard questions like it before. So, there's no evidence for God. Everything kind of follows a process. Scientifically, it can be explained. And then I wonder about questions like, well, I don't know, falling in love. Is falling in love just a scientific act that we can point to just the chemical reactions that are going on? We can go, well, we're all kind of built in a way, and there's something in us which needs us to find a mate to have children, and love is just chemicals kind of floating around. Or is there something mysterious in the fact of who we're drawn to? Is there something in the world which goes beyond perhaps the 2D, the stuff that's unexplainable, the stuff which fills us with hope, the stuff that fills us with love, maybe beyond all of that? And I think science is wonderful and I think answers a lot of questions, but perhaps there's something behind that which speaks of meaning. I don't know if that answers his question, but
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
What did you say, Mike?
Exactly what you said.
Oh, okay.
I think you summed it up quite nicely. That's not me being slopey, like I do. Why don't you want an argument? You said there at the start, oh, it's a bit boring. I don't really want an argument. I don't really want a debate. I find that all a bit tedious.
It's not that I don't. I don't feel like you can do.
Because I can hear Nicky saying, "Well, you don't want an argument because you won't win."
Yeah, it's not that I don't want argument. I just don't find it helpful. I don't think it often gets us anywhere. There's plenty of people to have that. People have had these discussions and these sort of academic kind of cerebral debates. It's just people around there to have. People want to have those discussions. I just don't think that's where most people are at. And I've had those. I've had those discussions. They usually leave both sides a bit frustrated with each other. Don't really get very far. I just don't find them very interesting. Maybe that's just a personal thing.
I know that's quite interesting, and I think actually, you know what, the vast majority of people that I know who have come to have a faith didn't come to have that faith because somebody argued them down.
Absolutely,
and managed to debate their way to see their point. Actually, what happened was that stuff that you're talking about, that kind of that almost mystique, that something much far more mysterious than that takes place when people come to have a faith. It's a slower process, I think, anyway, a slower, more organic process than that, more often than not.
Yeah, and there's a place for answering those questions. Don't get me wrong, but I guess my experience as clergy, but as just all of us in life, that like this week I'll be taking the funeral of somebody, and in that moment, in that place, there'll be people of faith and of no faith, and like most of us, somewhere on a journey within all of that. And even the most hard-nosed atheist in that space will often shed a tear, will look for hope, will think about where they fit within a bigger story. And that story would talk about the story of God, how we fit within that. They may argue something else, but I think the fact that there's bigger questions than what can just be answered in a cerebral debate just comes to the fore in those kind of settings.
Yeah. All right. Brilliant. And a change of tone completely. What does a vicar wear under his cassock, or indeed her cassock? Is it different for men or women? I don't know if this is something you've discussed. Is it something you? What term did you learn about what you wear under a cassock?
Well, it's yeah. I mean, that is yeah. I don't know which term that was. I do remember the first time I ever had to put a cassock on. I'm feeling very strange. They don't give you a lesson on how you do this. You're just kind of trying to figure this. Like, I mean, I'm gonna level you. I'd never worn a dress before. Suddenly, I had to get myself. Yeah, it's true.
Really?
It's true. Yeah, honestly. I mean, generally at this time of year, as much stuff as you can get underneath your cassock is what you wear.
Yeah.
If you're in a cold rural church building, as I often find myself in. Thermals.
All right. Okay.
Equally, if you're going off to play football straight away after, you can probably get your football kit on there, and nobody would know.
Nice. And what about if it's hot?
Yeah. I would always wear something under my cassock.
You wouldn't go commando.
That's where this.
You wouldn't go commando under a cassock. That's what you're saying.
There is no going commando under a cassock.
All right, just
inappropriate.
Fair enough. And I mean, you'd never want to dress.
No.
Yeah, how many years wasted right there? Because let me tell you, I organised a nativity recently. It was a mobile nativity around the village. People dressed up in nativity dress, all socially distanced. Beautiful thing. And I got handed back a washed shepherd's outfit. Came to the door the other day and said, "Oh, I thought you might want to have that back." So, yeah, I'll stick it in the garage with all the other stuff that I stole for the church. And it was by my bed one morning when I woke up, and I thought, "Oh, I'll just stick this on. I've got to go downstairs and make the kids breakfast." Let me tell you, it's changed my life. It's my new dressing gown.
Was there a lot of freedom, I expect?
So much freedom. It's basically just a big kind of, well, a bit like a cassock, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've reminded. I know we need to be wrapping up, but I mean, talk of you wearing dresses.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my, we've known each other for a while, but one of the most unusual things I remember is that you had a reputation for stealing ladies' knickers within the village.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, that is just that. I've just been reminded of that with your wearing. That you definitely stole one lady's knickers from one of the parishioners. At an event. Yeah.
She may well be listening. But yeah, we played a game. We did a kids' summer workshop at a festival that we were running, and it was superhero themed. And so I really jumped on board this, the pants outside the trousers thing, and that was kind of. It became less superhero themed and more pants themed as a week. But yeah, the game we played was Pants Win Prizes, a play on the old Points Win Prizes. And I had a row of pants lined up, which parishioners gave me. And they were parishioners who were helping at this holiday club. Most of them female, in fact, all of them female, and some quite elderly. And so I had a wide and varied selection of knickers on show, and the kids had to come up and tell me who each pair belonged to. And it was great. It was great fun. And I assumed that at the end of every day, people had taken home their knickers. I didn't go and hand them out afterwards. Anyway, about 3, maybe 4 months after the festival had finished, I got a message just asking me if I was finished with this lady's knickers and if I'd be able to return them. I won't name the ladies' names. I won't name and shame. But yeah, I still... I can't quite look her in the eye. And I think she's of the opinion that I've kept them as some kind of, I don't know, a sentimental kind of
I would expect they're probably under the seat in your car somewhere.
Yes, there's every chance. There's every chance. Well, look, a bit like the Bible, really. We were talking earlier. We were saying, you look at it and you study it and you explore it as a piece, and it maybe raises more questions than it offers answers. I feel like some of the stuff we've thrown up tonight has maybe done the same. But we would love to hear from you with any questions that you want to chuck into our virtual biscuit tin. And we'll throw them around in episode 2. But to finish, Lewis, unless there's anything else you want to mention.
No, I think, thanks for your questions. I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm wrestling my way through life from faith, and I don't have all the answers, and I think it'd be unhelpful to say if I said I did. So I hope this is a conversation of the two of us, people of faith and doubt, trying to think through some of this stuff together.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's finish up. We should go out of a song, and I'm thinking "Shine, Jesus, Shine." So, are
we gonna do the clap?
Yeah. We're gonna sing and clap. It's gonna be a beautiful thing. Here we go. What's the double intro? I remember that one. Lord, the light of your love is shining. In the midst of your darkness shining, Jesus, light of the world, shine upon. Come on, Lewis. Set us free by the truth you now bring us. Shine. Here it comes. On me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Well, I hope you got the clap in the right place. From me and Lewis, take care, God bless, we'll catch you next time. Glory.